Welcome to Dispatch, the weekly show designed to keep you on track as you build and operate your layout. I'm Roy Smith, your dispatcher. Thank you for joining me tonight. On tonight's show, your layout photos, the question of the week, your comments, and a big shout out. As always, the studio audience is here and waiting for the show to begin. Some of you have asked me how to get tickets for the studio audience. I'm sorry to say that the tickets have been sold out for years in advance. Well, let's get started. First up on tonight's show, your layout photos. Each week I invite you to post photos of your layout on a Facebook page called the N-Scale Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision Group. And each week many of you do just that. Then I bring your photos over here to Dispatch to share with everyone during the show. So, once again, I have a bunch of photos to show you, and here they are. Now, when Dispatch ends tonight, I want you to go over to the Facebook group, join the group, and post a photo of your layout there because we want to see what you're doing on your layout. It doesn't matter if you model in N scale, HO scale, or any other scale. We just want to see your layout. And yes, you can post photos of your club's layout because as a member of the club, it is partly your layout. I will put a link in the description to this video down below that will take you to the Facebook group. When you see this photo of Echo Canyon on my layout, you will know you're at the right place. Next up on the show, the question of the week. This week's question was suggested by Terry Elefeld. And here's Terry's question. How did you create your track plan? Did you use computer software? If so, which computer software did you use? A whole bunch of you responded to this question, and I'd like to share your responses. There were 4 types of responses. 1, those of you who laid track without a formal plan. Chances are you had some sort of idea in your head about where you wanted your track to go, or maybe you didn't, and you just wanted to see where the track would take you. 2, those of you who used a published plan or a part of a published plan, perhaps with modifications to suit your layout space or your preferences. 3, those of you who used a hand-drawn plan, perhaps on graph paper. This is sometimes referred to as the old school method of track planning because it's how most of us drew up our track plans before computers came along, and many of you still do use this method for track planning. And 4, those of you who use computer software to draw up your track plans. A majority of you preferred this method of track planning. The programs you most often mentioned were AnyRail, Xtract CAD, SCARM, and Rail Modeler. This isn't a complete list by any means. It's just the programs you most often mentioned. And there are many such programs which will do the job for you, and I recommend that you do a Google search. Then you can always draw up your plan on paper initially and then transfer your hand-drawn plan to a computer program of your choice. Many of us do this. That is, we combine number 3 and number 4. Many of you said you like to use computer software because it can be more precise than hand-drawn track plans. You also said that you can make changes to your track plans more easily when using track planning software. But the learning curve for these software programs can be steep, and that's why many of you don't use them. The learning curve certainly can make me crazy. Also, many of the software programs can only be downloaded to Windows computers and not to Apple Macs. That's why I originally began to use RAM Modeler. It works on my Apple Macs, and that's why I still use it when making changes to my track plan. Remember, how you draw up your track plan is entirely up to you. You don't have to use a computer to do it. Also remember, even when you design your track plan very carefully, things don't always work out according to the plan when you actually begin to lay the track. I've sometimes had to make substitutions in the radii of curved track or in the lengths of straight track, even when I thought my track plan was infallible. Also remember, a track plan is just a guide and nothing more than that. You can make changes as you lay your track or even after you've finished laying your track. Sometimes you will discover changes that you'd like to make after you've been running trains on your layout for a while. You've seen me make a lot of changes on my layout for this very reason. So what does Terry use? After all, he's the one who suggested the question. Well, he says he uses Xtract CAD. It's free and has many nice features. It does have a steep learning curve, he says, but once you master it, you can use it to create a very nice track plan. I would try to use it myself because it does work on Apple Macs, but I'm not sure I have the time or the patience to overcome the learning curve which he mentioned. And now, the question for the coming week. The question for the coming week was suggested by Robert Sacco. The question he suggested is, what got you started in the hobby? Robert says 2 people got him started in the hobby, his grandfather and his father. Here you see Robert and his father, Hugo, at a train club they both belong to. Robert posted this photo on the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision Facebook group. Thanks for sharing the photo, Robert. Now I want you to post your responses to Robert's question in the comments section down below. I will share your responses in Dispatch next week. Be sure to watch next week's show to find out the results of this question. Remember, the question for the coming week is, what got you started in the hobby? And now it's time for your comments. On Saturday, I uploaded a video called No AR1s on My Railroad. In it I said, I don't need no AR1s on my railroad. Then I went on to explain why not. I had installed a Digitrax AR1 automatic reverser on a section of my track during the previous Saturday's episode, but it wouldn't work. So in Saturday's episode, I showed you what I did instead to solve a problem in track polarity in that section of track. Let's take a look at a clip from Saturday's video. Where we're going, we don't need AR1s. You'll see what I mean coming right up. Hi, I'm Roy Smith. That's right, on my layout, we don't need no AR1s. In today's episode, I'm going to show you why not. First, we need to go back in time, all the way back to last Saturday. Do you remember that I tried to install an AR1 automatic reverser on a section of track on my layout during last Saturday's episode? If you saw that episode, then you know that I failed in trying to do this. It wouldn't work. So I asked for your help and you inundated me with suggestions. Well, I implemented your suggestions along with everything else I could find about AR1s on the internet. Here's what I did. I received a ton of comments from you in response to this video. Here's what a couple of you had to say. Tony of Corn Country Rails wrote, "Oh boy, can I relate to your AR1 problem. Sometimes the best thing is to take a break and rethink the problem away from the train room." Tony, you are so right. I needed more time to think my way through the problem and come up with an alternative. And sometimes the alternative is better than the original idea. John Grady wrote, "Well done, Roy. Nice to see you running trains again. It would be cool to see your layout diagram with the changes you made this past week." Thanks, John. I'm delighted that the track polarity problem is fixed and that it actually works. You bet, at some point I will update my track plan to reflect the changes that I've made, and I will share it with you when I do. Darren of the N-Scale CSX in Rio Grande wrote, "Great video, Roy. It does look better. AR1s can be problematic. Great to see you don't need one at all." Thanks, Darren. I'm a happy model railroader now. I fixed the problem so I can run some trains just for fun. And AZ Mike wrote, "I know someone who has an AR for sale, probably reasonable." Good detective work, Roy. Ha! Good one, Mike. If anyone wants it, all I can say is, you pays your money and takes your chances. Some of you ask why I used a double crossover rather than a single crossover to solve the track polarity problem. Actually, that's what I tried to do at first, but it wouldn't fit the limited space in this area of my layout. Along with the single crossover itself, I would have had to use short sections of curved track to get it to line up with the parallel main lines, requiring much more space than I have here. Well, it might work if I cut the track to fit and line up with the two main lines, but I do want to avoid introducing any really serious S-curves in this area. Also, some of you noticed a slight hesitation sometimes occurred when the single test locomotive crossed the insulated portion of the double crossover during Saturday's layout update. I noticed it too, but I don't know if there's a good solution to it. However, I do normally run my trains with two diesels up front, as you see in this test run. Using such multiple units gives the consist the momentum and power needed to get the locomotives across the insulation in the center of the double crossover without hesitation. I'd like to thank all of you who responded to the video with your comments. I'd love to respond to all of your comments right here on Dispatch, but if I did, we'd be here all night. Now, if you haven't seen No AR1s on my railroad yet, I will put a link down below that will take you directly to it. Go on over and watch it when Dispatch ends tonight. And now it's time for tonight's big shout out. And tonight's shout out goes to Gary Corbin and his pack rat route. Gary calls it the pack rat route because he's been acquiring stuff to build his N-scale layout for years. Gary's channel features layout updates as he continues to work on his layout in a room measuring 13 feet by 13 feet. He started to build his layout in January of this year, 2019, and has really come a long way since then. The centerpiece of the layout is a cement processing plant, but he's adding other industries and structures as he goes along. I like Gary's channel, and I think you will too. So come along, let's go take a look at a clip from his recent layout update.
Hello everybody. Today's Thursday, 15th of August, 2019. Things changed with a non-prototypical model railroad, I guess, but only slightly. It's been a month since I've done another update, but I've done all those yard improvements I was talking about for the operations and the car repair facility, the offloading shed for the other materials, and I also put in a couple crossovers, and you'll see coming up here. Okay guys, we'll start off with an aerial view here. This is the north wall entrance door there. This you remember from previous videos. And there's the future bog area. And this is the reconfigured cement plant yard area. There's the car repair facility back in the far corner there. And notice I've added a few more switches in. Actually just 6 switches inside the yard. The other 4 switches are for the car repair facility. There is a 36-inch track over there that can be used also. And that's the whole layout. That's against the east wall, and this over here is the south wall. 13 feet from corner to corner.
Now you've had a chance to see a clip from one of Gary's videos right here on Dispatch. Here's what I want you to do next. I want you to go over to his channel and check it out for yourself. You will be glad you did. I will put a link down below that will take you there. Be sure to subscribe while you're there and tell Gary that Roy Smith sent you. Well, that just about concludes tonight's show, but I want you to stick around because there's 3 things I want you to do before you go. First, I want you to make a note to come back here every Tuesday night for Dispatch and layout updates on Saturday mornings. Second, I want you to subscribe if you haven't done it yet and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes on this channel. And third, I want you to remember that there are 177 other videos on this channel. Be sure to go over to my videos page and browse around when Dispatch ends tonight. I will put a link to the videos page down below. There's just one more small thing I want to share with you, and here it is. Leonor and I just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. Do you know what we're going to do now? We're going to Strasburg, Pennsylvania. That's right. Leonor and I are going to Strasburg next May, and I hope you're planning to go too because I want to meet you there. All the cool model railroaders are going to be there. To see what awaits you when you get there, be sure to go over to my video called Strasburg, a Railroad Adventure. I'll put a link to it down below. All right, thank you for joining me here on Dispatch tonight, and thanks to everyone in the studio audience for coming. The show's done, everyone. You can leave now. Well, until next time, happy railroading. I'm Roy Smith, and I will see you again very soon.